Good morning. I just had some technical difficulties and I had recorded 3 minutes of vlog and then it crashed. So that's kind of a bummer. But at least now I can edit a bit and just say what I wanted to say a little faster without all the fumbling of the first recording. So we went to a family gathering last night at Tammy's for her son Justin's birthday. He's 20. And I did not feel a sense of dread about going to this party. And it's fascinating thing to me is that sometimes Tammy has a party and sometimes Sandra has a party, and it's always all the same people because it's their family, and it's always a little more chill and relaxing and comfortable at Tammy's and tense and awkward and like stressful. I tend to have a lot more. I feel intense anxiety when going to Sandra's, and so, but I can't. I mean, there's just a lot of, I think, layers to why that is. I don't know. I think Tammy has a happier marriage and family life. Um, I think she's a little more relaxed about hosting, but yet at the same time very focused on being a good host. And um, she really likes cooking, and I don't know. It's just like it just feels more comfortable. That said, um, both of these women have some major issues um, regarding their bodies and food that I want to talk about because um, it, I overheard a conversation that they had right in front of me. I wasn't, I could have probably been part of this conversation if I wanted to, but I certainly did not. Anyway, they were talking to each other about food and diets and bodies, and it was painful for me on some levels, like partially because they're thin and I am not thin. Um, and so I immediately start thinking, God, if this is what they think about themselves, what do they think about me? Like I must be like Jabba the Hutt or something, grotesque to them. So it churns up these uncomfortable, like self-conscious, makes me kind of hate myself a little bit, and but then at the same time, that's kind of bubbling up for me. I also have a little more clear-headed, objective take on it, which is like these women are kind of sick. Like they have a problem, and the problem isn't the fat on their bodies. The problem is in their minds, and it's sad. It's really sad. And I used to be. I've never been as thin as they are in my life, but I used to be a lot thinner than I am now, and have similar obsessive, neurotic um, thought processes about my body and food. And even though I wish that I was thinner than I am, I'm not thrilled with my size. Um, I am thrilled with my day-to-day ability to follow my body's hunger cues, eat when I need to eat, without worrying about it, and always trying to eat the best food that I can afford, and like trying to eat well at all times. But sometimes I don't eat well, and it might be McDonald's or candy or junk. Excuse me, something just popped up in front of the screen. Um, um, just bad food, and I don't stress about it. I don't think of food in moral terms. I'm pretty good at viewing food pretty neutrally. I've even relaxed. I used to have a lot of neuroses about feeling like I needed to always buy organic everything, and which is of course much more expensive. And I had this idea of purity about food, and a lot of anxiety about my daughter, wanting to provide her with like the most pure, untainted foods. And yes, that's still an ideal, but I, if the non-organic apples are 50 cents each and the organic apples are 2.50 each, I'm gonna buy a bunch of the non-organic so that we have apples, like so we have 5 apples instead of 1 apple, and we can have an apple a day for a few days. I just I don't know, the organic thing is too precious. Although, I know I'm going off on a tangent here. I will only buy organic or like the highest quality meats that I can find, which is around here pretty much at Whole Foods. So I buy meat and dairy at Whole Foods. Um, so that's my thing. But if I go out to the diner with my family, I'll eat a burger and I won't think like, is this sustainably raised grass-fed beef, which I know it's not, and I'll still eat it, and I won't really fret about it. Um, so anyway, I am decently peaceful and at peace with food and eating and my body. I mean, that's a struggle. It's more of a struggle, but I feel mentally healthier than I did 10 years ago when I was like 50 pounds lighter, you know. Yeah, I miss being able to wear like little cute clothes and just sort of feeling like more of a whatever that fitting in society. Like you always feel like a little bit of a outsider when you're fat. There's something wrong with you. So I miss that feeling of not feeling like there's that everyone thinks there's something wrong with me, which if they're thinking about me at all. Um, so there's things I miss about it, but I don't miss the headspace that I was in. So anyway, that's all me. Um, we're at their house. We're at Tammy's house, and Poppy had gone out to the backyard to play on the trampoline, and Paul and I were like, it was very windy out. We didn't quite want to go out with her, and there were other relatives outside, other adults to monitor. But there was this window in the kitchen, and we were peeking out the window just to see her on the trampoline and see if we should go out there. And the two sisters, Tammy and Sandra, were like putting out foods, um, and just all of a sudden, Tammy just starts saying like, I don't know how it all got started, but just suddenly she's talking about her this diet that she went on, and she's like, I've been on this diet, and it's really strict, and she's like, and I have a really hard time following it, because the food quality, it's a diet I found in Self magazine, and she details like what the breakfast is and the lunch and the snacks, and it all sounds like pretty healthy, like some quinoa porridge for breakfast and an egg, and then carrot sticks for a snack, and then lunch is like a turkey wrap with, and you're allowed 1 tablespoon of mayo, and I don't remember the rest. That's all I remember, the items I remember. But and and she's like, the food is good. I'm happy about the food. There's no problem with the food. It's food that I'm happy to eat every day. But the problem is, it's not enough food for me, and I'm hungry. And then when I get hungry, I eat, and so I haven't been able to get rid of this. And this is a really thin woman, and I guess apparently she weighs more than she used to. She's like, I disgust myself. She's like, I'm I'm at the weight that I was when I was 6 months pregnant with Justin. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like you were that thin when you were pregnant? Like, holy shit. like, but she's a thin woman. I mean, I feel like she's a naturally thin person, like Paul is. Like, she's just lean. She just looks like a meant to be a thin person. She looks healthy. She doesn't look like someone that starves herself. And she's quite thin. Anyway, but she's just like squeezing this little roll, and like with so much hate. And and then she starts blurting out to Sandra. She's like, look at you. I don't know why is that. Something the Wi-Fi keeps giving me a message. um, it's not like you. She's like, all I do at work is snack. I'm just at my desk. I'm so sedentary at work, and I get hungry and I just snack and snack. It's not like you at your job. And then Sandra's like, what are you talking about? You don't know what I eat at work. And then Tammy's like, I know, but she's like, you're busy. She's like, you're on your feet. You're doing surgeries. She's like, you're not just sitting at a desk. She's like, you are so thin. You're like perfect. And then Sandra's like, in a way, I admired Sandra. She was like, I can't even hear this right now. Like, um, you've been thin your whole life. Like for me, it's a real struggle. I don't admire that, but I like that she was trying to stop Tammy. But she's like, you know, I have to think about everything I eat all the time. It's been like this for years. Like, it was always effortless for you, and like just both of them just going at each other, like kind of almost like arguing, and then Tam, I think Sandra was like, she's like, I don't even want to have this conversation. It's like, you're so thin. No, you're so thin. You're so thin. No, you're so thin. Like Sandra called her out on it, but she was still at the same time participating, um, by kind of saying like, kind of Tammy's like accusing Sandra of being totally perfectly thin, and Sandra's accusing Tammy of, you're so lucky your whole life you just were effortlessly thin, and it was always an effort for me. And way back, like more than 20 years ago, I guess, um, Sandra was bulimic. Paul told me, like when they were in high school, and she was kind of chunky. I mean, when I met her a long time ago, she was definitely not as thin as she is now. But I would never call this person fat ever at any phase in her life. But she was a little fuller looking. But I guess with their family, like it was probably considered unacceptable or a problem, because their mother is also, oh God, she like later on. So anyway, that was the conversation between them, and I felt hot cheeked and like self-conscious that they were talking like this in front around me, like the fat one, the fat one. I have to put quotes around it. But then um, I felt self-conscious and uncomfortable for myself, but I had this overwhelming sense of sadness, like about them, like it just seems so demented. It's like, I eat this food, but then I'm hungry, and when I'm hungry, I eat, like as if that's wrong. But that's right. That's what you're supposed to do. Like, it's demented to me that she's criticizing herself for eating when she's hungry. And it's demented to me that she sees like all this grotesque fatness on her body when she's a 50-year-old postmenopausal woman. Um, uh, it's normal to put on some weight. It's okay. There's nothing bad about it, and she looks great. She looks great. She's beautiful, but she can't see it. She can't. It's like a dysmorphic body dysmorphia. I don't know. It's just also mental, like such a mental problem, and it makes me sad, for her. And I feel sad for Sandra for saying that she's always struggled. Like it's always been so hard for her. Like, and I feel sorry for them that they have a mother that is all about negative self-criticism about body, all about control and demonizing food. I mean, she does that. Nancy does that big time. So later in this party, Tammy always has like little candy dishes around the house. Like she might have a little this tiny bowl of jelly beans, because it's Easter recently, or M&Ms or bubble gums, like just throughout the house. I always notice that, and no one ever seems to be eating it, but it's there. And Poppy discovered one of the dishes and was like eating a bunch of M&Ms. So Nancy and Poppy was so thrilled. And Nancy was like, we were talking about Poppy for a second, like, oh yeah, she's a sweet tooth, and it's funny that she found this little dish. She's so excited, and then Nancy's like, I don't understand how Tammy always has these dishes of candy all around. She's like, I could never have that because if I had dishes of candy all around, I would just be eating candy all the time, and no one around here ever eats the candy. Like they might once a week have a piece of candy, and like they don't even think about it. It's just not a big deal. And I was like, yeah. I was like, I guess they're not afraid of candy around here. So, candy's not going to hurt you. It's just candy. I didn't say all that, but I was like, Paul was listening and he was like, well, probably that it's always available. It's not that big a deal. It becomes forbidden thing for them. Right on. Yeah. But meanwhile, Tammy's still a mess in her head. I don't know. And she's probably passing that on to her daughter. She got it from her mother. It's sad, and that's all I want to say. Okay, thank you.